Okay, so I think we can get started. So hello everyone, glad to be here and thanks everyone for listening. Today I will share some insights around and AI infrastructure and the whole landscape and trends that is observed from open source community data. So first of all, a brief introduction of myself. I'm Xiaoya from N Group open source team, and I'm an open source program manager and data-driven analyst. So back when I was a PhD student, my main focus was about leveraging open source data, especially GitHub data that is generated by developers day by day, and to observe trends and patterns in software development and technology involvement. And it is obvious that the technology hotspot has been evolved into AI thanks to the rise of large language models and ChatGPT. And data also proves that. According to OpenRank, which is an evaluation model based on open source collaborative data, we will code this model repeatedly later, so if you are interested in the theory behind OpenRank, you can reference the two links below the chart. But as we can see in the chart, OpenRank demonstrates that AI has surpassed cloud-native technologies in 2023 to become the most influential technology domain. Looking at the curves of the 5 major domains, AI, cloud-native, database, front-end, and operating system, we can see over the past decade, AI projects have seen rapid growth, especially after 2022, which is not surprise. It took front-end in 2017, accelerated post-22, and surpassed the declining cloud-native in 23 to claim the top spot. These shifts are closely tied to the rapid development of large models. Since ChatGPT gained widespread public recognition, which is also known as the GPT moment, large language models and multimodal models have flourished. Some say that foundational models are becoming the new form of infrastructure of this era. Indeed, they are critical, and every well-resourced company is racing to claim its place in this ecosystem, much like the early days of the mobile internet. Many researchers, they have mapped out the evolution of language models before 2023 and until that year, from the exploration in encoder-decoder architecture to the debates between open or closed model strategies. And we can see such a systematic overview have now become increasingly rare as the field began to evolve so fast and models, they are dropped one major release one after another, which leaves us barely able to keep up. So, to make sense of such rapid progress, we organized the mainstream model releases of this year, 2025, referencing major model ecosystems and created this large model landscape. On this chart, we annotated each model's version, producer, parameter, scale, modality, and also their open or closed stages. And it reveals key trends that are shaping model architecture evolution. So the trends, we selected these 3 major model architecture development. So the first of all, one of the clearest trend this year is the scaling of parameters under MOE, mixture of experts architecture. So flagship models like DeepSeek, Q1, and Kimi, they have all adopted MOE, which is a design built on the principle of sparse activation. While the total parameter count can be massive, only a small subset is active during any single inference step, which allows models to become increasingly huge. Based on this, Ant Group released the Lin and Ring series of models, each with 1 trillion parameters under the Inclusion AI organization. So I wonder how many of you have heard of Inclusion AI? Well, that's a relief, but still hurting. It's okay, so if you are interested, all of the Ring and Lin model series, as I mentioned before, they are all open sourced under, as you can see in the chart, the very top row of this chart. And we didn't include the newest ultra-large models here since they are as fresh as just released in the past 2 weeks. But you can check out Inclusion AI on Hugging Face and also GitHub and also on the website for the latest details. And the second trend is reinforcement learning that is really boosting reasoning. Early this year, DeepSeek R1 combines large-scale pre-training with RL-based post-training, significantly improved performance in areas like automated reasoning and complex decision-making. So, reasoning ability has quickly become the signature feature for flagship models released this year. In the same time, reasoning comes with trade-offs. Models generally take longer inference times and consume more tokens if you integrate the reasoning ability. So there are also hybrid reasoning models. Much like the human brain switches between fast reactions and deep thinking, users can now choose different models depending on their scenario. And the last one is multimodality, which is really going mainstream. Model release with the modality of language, image, speech, and video interaction are common this year. And we also see the emergence of some specialized vision-only and speech-only models. Apart from the foundation models, we also wish to highlight the most popular and core-stage open source projects in the development ecosystem around large language models and large models. So, drawing on community data, we identified and included 114 of the most prominent open source projects. So this project spanning 22 technical areas and are organized in general into 2 major directions: AI infra and AI agents. The median age of all these open source projects are 30 months, which is barely 2.5 years old. And among them, around 60 of them were launched after October 2022, which is, as said, the GPT moment. Despite being so fresh, the attention this project received is staggering. On average, each project has already accumulated nearly 30,000 GitHub stars, which is a level of traction that older open source projects that from the last generation of technology like cloud native operating system, they can hardly dream of. And these projects have drawn participation from over 360,000 developers worldwide. Among those with identifiable locations which were input in those developers' GitHub profile, about 24% are based in the United States, and about 18% are based in China, followed by India, Germany, and UK. And this word cloud figure consists of 100 keywords that are extracted from the GitHub descriptions and topics of all the landscape projects. And this word captures the defining technical terms of today's model development ecosystem. And the most frequent keywords are AI, LLM, agent, data, learning, search, model, OpenAI, framework, Python, and MCP. And these are the most influential projects with active developer communities on the landscape, the top 10 projects at OpenRank. Surprisingly, compared to the agent and AI application development, infrastructure is taking the lead with PyTorch and VLM ranked top 1 and 2. The top 10 projects represent the most active and influential community forces in today's open source AI ecosystem. Together, they span nearly the entire chain, from foundational compute and frameworks like PyTorch and Ray, to training data pipelines such as Airflow, to high-performance serving engines like VLM, sklearn, and TensorRT LLM. On the application side, they include agent orchestration platforms like DeFi and N8N, as well as developer and end-user facing tools such as Gemini CLI, which is a very fresh open source project initiated by Google just this April, and also Cherry Studio, which is a chatbot application project that is a startup based in Shanghai. From the programming language perspective, we can see that Python and TypeScript is really together, they form the backbone of this whole ecosystem. And Python dominates the infrastructure layer while TypeScript rules the application layer. Looking at the forces behind these projects, we see multiple streams of innovation. Projects like VLM, sklearn, and Ray, they are all emerged from the labs of UC Berkeley, which showcase the academic world's outsized influence. And we can see there are tech giants like Meta, Google, and NVIDIA. They hold or shape critical positions in the stack. But still, closer to the application layer, we can also see smaller teams like DeFi and Cherry Studio. They are innovating rapidly, delivering user-friendly tools that spark new growth points. We also highlighted their applied licenses because it is worth mentioning that quite a few popular projects like DeFi, N8N, and Cherry Studio, though their source code are open, their source code are public available on GitHub, but their license were modified to protect their commercial interests, of course, and were not OSI approved. So from the top projects, it is clear that at least two definite key areas in LLM infrastructure, which are model training and serving. And especially PyTorch as an undisputed training platform ranked top and top always among all the projects in the ecosystem. And also the high-performance inference engines represented by VLM, SGL, TensorRT LLM, and their superior GPU inference performance made them often the most popular choices for enterprise-level model deployment. And the spotlight is moving so fast. Some are currently at the top, and some once popular projects in the AI landscape is now fading. And here are some representative. MLC LLM and GPT-4o were once widely used for on-device model deployment. The former was tied to its own inference engine, MLC engine, that were all initiated by machine learning compilation, which is by Tianqi Chen, and GPT-4o, just like Ollama, also relied on Llama CPP. But it is clear in the end, Ollama became the clear winner in this niche, and these two projects are all fitting now. And FastJet is a project that is also initiated by the LMC lab that is also incubating SGLAN and LLM Arena, the popular evaluation platform. So this project, FastJet, represents LMC lab's early experiments in training, inference, and model evaluation. So today their efforts have evolved into more successful SGL project and the LLM Arena platform. Text generation inference, the TGI project, were initiated by Hugging Face, which is an earlier engine for GPU-based LLM inference. And it has gradually been abandoned by Hugging Face now because its performance fell far behind the newer solutions like VLM and SGL. And among all of them, the most striking part of this story is the fall of a former giant, TensorFlow. The divergence between TensorFlow and PyTorch once again highlights the importance of flexibility, ecosystem compatibility, and smooth version evolution. So TensorFlow was open sourced earlier by Google in 2025. It quickly became the dominant deep learning framework of its time. Then PyTorch entered the scene with a Pythonic and researcher-first philosophy. It wins developers over with its flexibility and ease of use. In 2029, TensorFlow 2.0 adopted many of PyTorch's design ideas, but that technical shift created major compatibility and migration headaches. So as a result, many developers choose to double down on their loyalty to PyTorch instead. And that's the time point that PyTorch officially surpassed TensorFlow in 2029. Since then, the community curve went to different directions of these two open source projects. And talking about PyTorch, it's now clearly become the dominant force and the go-to standard in today's model development world. This collaboration network connects all the landscape projects by developer contributions. Among different projects, so within this network, we can see that PyTorch stands at the absolute center. It shares contributors with almost every major infrastructure project on the landscape. And we all know that PyTorch is now hosted under the Nurture Linux Foundation, and projects like SGL, VLM, and DeepSpeed are becoming integral parts of the broader PyTorch landscape. In fact, next week in San Francisco, the Grand PyTorch Conference and the surrounding Open Source AI Week will take place. And this is another clear sign that the ecosystem built around PyTorch has become the de facto core of open source AI. Since 2023, rapid progress has made model serving the critical middleware layer connecting AI infrastructure with AI application. The market has seen an explosion of model serving tools competing over performance and also the community expansion. It's just like a heated race that shows no signs of cooling, just like this racing chart. And the ranking list of these projects reshuffles a lot, with new contenders like K-Transformers initiated by Tsinghua University, and also Dynamo initiated by NVIDIA. They continually challenging the existing status quo. These two projects are all initiated just in this year, and we can see they have strong growth trends. By now, both efficient inference and model deployment have started to converge, and it is indeed really the process of development from chaos to order. Projects and use cases are becoming more streamlined and focused, and these two charts show the top 5 inference engine and inference deployment projects by OpenRank. So they are all from our latest landscape release, and along with their community trends over the past year. Among them, LLM and SGN stands out as the two most well-known and fastest growing inference engines, the green curve and the red curve. And on the deployment side, we can see that Ollama and also Dynamo initiated this year. The yellow one, they ranked the top 2. And they cater to different scenarios, but both well worth attention. So these are the 4 representative open source projects in model serving tech areas. So large-scale online inference remains the main battlefield for model serving, with data center level deployments handling tens of millions of requests. Orchestration frameworks like Dynamo are scaling beyond single machine efficiency to multi-node, multimodal, and multi-tenant clusters. At the same time, inference engines like Bian and SGN, they are pushing the limits of performance in high-throughput, long-context, multi-user scenarios. Many enterprises, they choose them to set up private inference services, and they are becoming the de facto industry practice. On the edge side, projects like Llama CPP and Ollama together makes it possible to run models on personal computers, mobile devices, and even embedded hardware, making large models at your fingertips a reality. And that's all for the inside parts. So in the end, I would like to address 2 questions that might be in your head. The first one is, how do we select projects to formulate this landscape? As said, we utilized OpenRank to assess community engagement and project vitality. And then we manually classify them based on their project description. So OpenRank is an algorithm that measures the relative influence of projects across the ecosystem by analyzing patterns of developer collaborations in projects issue and pull requests. And our current selection criteria for most of the technology areas are projects that their OpenRank score in the recent months should reach 50. Of course, data can cause bias and not be entirely accurate. So we also rely on expert experience and human judgment during the selection process, especially when it comes to underlying technology stacks that naturally have smaller developer communities. And if you want to explore OpenRank trends for some specific GitHub projects, I suggest you to install the HyperShareX browser extension, and you can see the OpenRank trend for any open source projects in the bottom right corner of its GitHub repository page. And the second question is, why does N-Group and open source team produce this? So N-Group's open source team is actually in the architecture technology department, and one of our key goals is to leverage insights from the open source community to guide the evolution of the company's architecture and technology. So the landscape and trend analysis we produce they are all built on this very foundation to use community data to identify which projects are most worth tracking, adopting, and contributing to, as well as which directions truly merit long-term investment, and vice versa. And as she explained in yesterday's keynote, ideally we hope such landscape and trend analysis can provide important proof for our CTO when it comes to decision making for him. And we are dedicated to maintain this initiative continuously, releasing fresh insights regularly and fostering collaborative growth with a broader community through open collaboration. So you can follow these links to experience an online. This one you can experience an online interactive version of the landscape, and you can head it off directly to any of the open source projects on the landscape we mentioned. And the full report has been published on Medium. So we are looking forward for your feedback and stay tuned for our next release.